back to the Malted Man Cave. I am down here, down in my man cave as usual, after a hard day's work, and I was enjoying a couple drams by myself as I was doing some notes for work, and I thought, you know what? This Bunnahabhain 12 is getting pretty low, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to restrain myself from drinking this, so better do a review. Unfortunately, Dave was unable to come, but the show must go on, and as I said, I was not sure how long I was going to be able to go with being able to stop myself from drinking this. So tonight we're going to be doing Bunnahabhain 12. Bunnahabhain was actually founded in 1881, and the distillery sits on the northeast side of Islay, which everyone knows is an amazing island in Scotland that is famous for producing just a very heavily peated single malt from the multiple distilleries that are there. This, however, is not a heavily peated single malt. I actually thought that there was no peat at this when I first enjoyed the Bunnahabhain 12 and the 18, but after doing some research on their actual website of Bunnahabhain, it says that it is very, very lightly peated. So they probably get their malted barley from Port Ellens, which is also in Islay, and lots of different distilleries actually get their malted barley from them when they actually use a peated malted barley. So then they give their different specifications of how, the ppm levels that they want. So this is a very, very, very lightly peated single malt. So a little bit about Bunnahabhain 12. It is non-colored, check. Non-chill filtered, check. And comes in at 46.3% ABV. So you already know that the Malted Man Cave is very happy with this malt. It's in craft presentation the way every single malt should be. If it was up to me, I think that everything should be non-chill filtered, non-colored, and cask strength. But I know I'm getting a little greedy now. So anything else I want to say about Bunnahabhain? Lastly, Bunnahabhain 12 is actually comprised, the wood management is ex-bourbon and ex-sherry cask. I'm not sure if it's 60-40, 50-50. I would probably say 60-40, with 60% being bourbon and 40% being sherry. So with that said, I wanted to share a little bit with you guys about what specifically the different bourbon and sherry casks, the flavors that they typically impart. Now, there's lots of different types of sherry. There's Amontillado, there's Vino, there's Oloroso, there's Pedro Jimenez, which is really amazing. You get this amazing sticky, sweet sherry goodness that I love. GlenDronach uses Pedro Jimenez a lot. I just had a Beaumont, and quick shout out to Mike and Billy's whiskey reviews. I just spent some time up in Columbus with Mike. He's an amazing guy. He had me over and just showered me with amazing, amazing single malts, and even sent me home with some delicious stuff that he had already reviewed and enjoyed, and left me with like an eighth of the bottle of Springbank 16 local barley, which is really, really good. And as I was saying, Beaumont Devil's Cask, which they use Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, and it's very, very good. So this is actually something, it's called The Wood Makes the Whiskey, and this was given to me from a brand rep for Gordon and MacPhail. And literally I am just on a website called Scotch Addicts, and the other one is, what's the other one that I'm on? Malt Maniacs. Not gonna forget that. But I was posting, one of my videos that I had done on the Ben Romack 10 Imperial Proof, and just was kind of singing the praises about how they do things the right way, kind of handcrafted, and I was just singing their praises, and one of their brand reps actually saw that, commented, and it was like really kind, and just for no reason. He really got nothing out of it other than just being a nice guy, and perhaps me, promoting the whiskey by word of mouth. He sent me 2 full bottles of Ben Romack 15, and Ben Romack Peat Smoke, along with 2 Glencairn glasses and a bunch of literature. So it was like Christmas morning for me, just like getting whiskey for no reason other than somebody was being a gentleman. So he gave me some of this literature, as I was saying as well, and this was a really, really good read. A lot of really helpful, tangible information that helps you understand kind of what goes into the flavors of whiskey. So I want to read some to you. This says, and this is kind of Gordon MacPhail's kind of their approach as they age and mature their whiskey. Says the cask flavors. Bourbon whiskey is matured in fresh, unused, or virgin oak casks, which contain concentrated flavor compounds. The casks are heavily charred, which is a process that opens up the wood grain to speed up maturation. This gives the spirit a highly distinctive, sweet, aromatic character along with a vibrant color. As a result, bourbon matured Scotch whiskeys carry flavors which can be derived from both the wood type and previous spirit matured in the cask. Typically, whiskey matured in bourbon barrels will present a base of vanilla sweetness, vibrant and light aromas, perhaps a little citrus, with fresh tropical fruits and beautiful ethereal top notes on the palate. And obviously, there's all kinds of different, bourbon casks you could get as amazing as, George T. Stagg, Elijah Craig barrel proof cask, or you could get just some humdrum, trying to think of just Jim Beam, just the normal basic Jim Beam. Not knocking it. It's got its place, just not the best bourbon. So obviously it also depends on, how well the casks are preserved. If they've been used before, is it first fill, is it second, is it third, depending on how rich and just full the flavor is. And so on the other side, so this has bourbon matured casks that were used to contain this whiskey, and then it also has sherry. So I'm going to read a little bit about sherry. Sherry casks are highly sought after in the Scotch whiskey business, and I've said before in some of my other videos, I think it's probably higher by now. The last I checked, just one sherry butt, I think it contains 1,500 years. I'm talking out of my arse now. I forget how much it holds, but just one sherry barrel, one sherry butt, literally can go for as much as like 1,800 euros. And it might be going up by now. It's just really hard because the sherry industry is not as vibrant as it used to be. A lot of people aren't just drinking sherry. So they're unfortunately trying to cut corners. And if you really want to get a really good sherry butt, you just have to pay a lot of money for it. And one thing to look out for, if you see a whiskey that says seasoned with Oloroso sherry or seasoned with Pedro Jimenez, do not get that whiskey. There's a possibility that it could be all right, but pretty much what a seasoned cask is, they take, instead of actually taking sherry and maturing it in oak barrels, for however long that typically is, however many years, and you get all those full flavors. They're not even really making sherry. It's like they put like crappy sherry and they just kind of put it in there for a couple months and then dump it out or give it to the poor. Who knows what they do with it. It's not quality sherry at all. And then they use those casks. So it's seasoned in Oloroso sherry casks. So stay away from that because it's not going to have the rich, beautiful chocolate and dark fruits flavors that you're looking for. Stay away. Anyways, I digress. So where are we at? Sherry casks, as I said, are highly sought after. They make up a substantial part of our wood portfolio at Gordon MacPhail, despite the fact that they can be up to 3 times more expensive than oak barrels. We typically select ex-Oloroso sherry casks for the maturation of our sherry matured whiskeys. So the cask flavors you get, the high acidity and lower alcohol content of sherry have a distinguishing effect on the wood, extracting more water-soluble flavors from the staves. These factors combine to make Scotch whiskey matured in a sherry barrel a unique and unmistakable experience. A typical sherry matured whiskey will carry notes of rich, dried fruit and spice with a nutty and unctuous mouthfeel. And I would add, this is just the Malted Man Cave talking, you kind of get that, I get chocolatey notes with almost every sherry matured whiskey that I have. So chocolate, spice, dried fruit, and a lot of times, especially with Oloroso, you get kind of a nutty flavor. So, enough talking. I've blabbered on enough. And without further ado, let's get into some whiskey. very big fan of Bunnahabhain. The 18 is probably in my top 6. I guess I have a little bit more than I thought. All right. Give it a little stroll around the glasses, Ralphie likes to say, even though I've knocked him for that because I think it's not going to kill it if you swirl it around a little bit. All right. This is just a super gentle and subtle. This is kind of like the Dalwhinnie. If you've ever had Dalwhinnie 15, this is like the Dalwhinnie of Islay. It's just amazingly subtle and gentle, but still full of flavors. So I get on the nose grilled pineapple. I don't know if you guys have ever grilled pineapple, but something about that when I've grilled pineapple and ate it off the grill is I'm digging into it and the juices are kind of like, you know, coming off. I just smell grilled pineapple. Sweet tea. An amazing saltiness that you typically get with most Islay distilleries. And sandalwood. This is a very, very dry whiskey on the nose, the palate, and the finish. And it's not like overly dry to where it's like you just have no, like there is definitely, it's mouth-watering at times, but it's definitely dry, kind of comes in and out with this kind of drying mouthfeel, while yet at the same time having a pretty good mouth coating texture. Light milk chocolate with manuka honey, vanilla maltiness, and then at the end of the nose you kind of get this earthy mustiness from dunnage warehouses and the slightest notes of orange and cinnamon. I didn't notice this before when I was drinking most of the bottle and as I was doing my notes, but this evening right before, as I was enjoying a dram of this, it's kind of like a gentle, more dunnaged Macallan 12. A little bit more gentle, a little bit more like that rich, earthy mustiness, and I don't even know how to describe it, but that kind of what you get from dunnage warehouses. Because from what I've tasted in Macallan 12, it really doesn't taste that much like they use dunnage warehouses. I'm sure they have some, but I think the majority of their casks are not aged in dunnage warehouses. All right, on to the palate. Again, kind of an earthy, light milk chocolate. It's not a real strong chocolate note, but just kind of light, earthy milk chocolate. Salted caramels like I got on the Bunnahabhain 18. Again, that grilled pineapple note. Oranges, real subtle oranges and cinnamon, and a little bit of eggnog. I'm not sure. Eggnog's not as popular in the States as it used to be, and I'm not sure if it's still a thing in Europe or in other places in the world. But if you ever had eggnog, you know, it's kind of obviously eggs, like milk. Let's see, was it nutmeg, and maybe a little bit of cinnamon, a couple other things that go in it. And my mom still makes it every Christmas for us, and it's very, very pleasant. It actually brings back really good memories. So eggnog, and then honey, little nuttiness, and again that drying oak and actually sandalwood, a little bit of oakiness and sandalwood. Man, that's really good stuff. It's kind of hard to find here in Ohio, as I said before, so I'm trying to really enjoy this. And if you find it, pick it up. For the money, this is an amazing bang for your buck whiskey. On the finish, again, it's not real strong like I get with a lot of sherry, like Macallan 12. you know, or a lot of other different sherries, like the orange is just boom in your face, the chocolate, the spice, whatever. It's just really subdued, and in the background, just light, kind of salty oranges, light cinnamon, again, the eggnog, and then again, as I said, always in the background is this kind of drying oakiness, but not too drying. So very, very, very good whiskey for the money. For a 12-year-old craft presentation, I think I got this for like $60. So amazing whiskey. I will be giving this, it's probably an 88 of 100, but I'm going to actually give it an 89 because of the dunnage influence. You can really taste it, and it gives it that more rich character and craft presentation. And you're getting more bang for your buck with 46.3 instead of your average 40 or 43. So 89 out of 100 for me. Malted Man Cave approved. Go out and get you some Bunnahabhain. It's an amazing distillery. And it's a little bit different take on an Islay whiskey. So thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Plancha.